Good evening. Hi, my name is Frankie Kington, known as a wise entrepreneur. And my dear friend and guest speaker today is Roger Bertrand, who's a retired entrepreneur. Part-time, you say part-time retired entrepreneur, Roger? Is that okay?
Part-time entrepreneur, part-time retired. Why not? Yeah.
You never retire, Roger, but yeah, I'm glad to have him on my channel as a guest speaker. And Roger, we're going to talk about my book today. Is that right, Roger? And tell me
That's correct. I'm going to talk about your book, your first book.
Tell me what we're going to talk about, please, Roger. Thank you.
Okay, but your first book is Flying on the Inside and Reaching New Heights, and the true story of the wise entrepreneur. And I've decided to read this book in a slightly different way than usual. I'll read word for word, yeah? And I decided to test speed reading. I've started some training about speed reading. And actually, I believe, personally, and it was an ideal book because there is about 80 pages in it. So it's an ideal book to start. Because I'm sure many of you out there, we want to read books that thick, 200 pages, 300 pages, 180 pages, and so on and so forth. But have you not noticed a lot of those books, we don't finish them because we haven't got the time, we're busy people, okay? So then I came across a French guy, and there is plenty of other guy out there called Mohamed Boclet, who trains people in France about speed reading, mind mapping, which is to associate an image with a word as a way to remember things. And also he teaches other things with people who are students and very successful business person in France. And there are plenty of speed readers in the world. And it's been invented, as far as I know, by Tony Buzan, who passed away now. And Tony Buzan, I think, was actually British. Yeah. And they have world championships, French championships on mind mapping and speed reading every year now. Okay, and it's very, very fascinating. Okay. And then the, right, so the way I read it, because usually as a normal reader, I am a slow reader. And I've realized, unless I am very passionate about a book, I don't really remember what I read about. I don't. And many people don't. Or we go back on the previous chapter or the previous line. Oh, what did I miss? Okay. Why speed reading? When we read word by word, for what I have learned so far is that, like for example, I can see a line, at home I enjoy listening to music with Uncle Eddie in his bedroom. He had a collection of classic albums like The Wall by Pink Floyd and the best of it's from The Doors, okay? So if I read word for word, our eyes tend to wander a bit. They go up, they go down, they go left, if you know what I mean. So anyway, so I've learned so far a few techniques is by using a visual, like when we learn at school, we are told to put our fingers and follow the words like that. And after that, when we know how to read, they tell us to stop, which is actually a mistake. Because with this, your eye is actually fixing this. So it stops your eyes to wander too much. And also, as you move on, well, there are plenty of techniques, but that's the one I've been learning and using. You don't have to read all the words on a line to understand it.
Does it work for you, Roger? And what difference does it make to your life, pal, speed reading? You talk about.
Yeah, okay. I am actually at the moment at the beginning of the training, since you are the first book I've used, but for it. And what I would say is this: I seem to remember better. What I remember from your book, or also before I go on to answer these questions, when we read a book, we prepare ourselves. You look at the back cover of the book, to see what it's about. Okay, you look at the chapters of the book. So it gives you an idea of what the book is about and which kind of trends it follows. Yeah. So if it is a novel, for example, about love, then you could see the different title of the chapters, and then you can perhaps guess when the two lovers are going to stay together or split or whatever. Yeah. So it gives you an idea of what the book is about. With Frankie, I look at his chapters as well. Yeah. Finding off, for example, and a new direction in life. That would suggest previously he had difficulties. If he wants to find out, that would definitely suggest he had a difficult childhood. We don't know how difficult it was. We don't know what the problem were, but at least that already gives you an idea. Okay. Also, what I would suggest to anybody is, then of course you don't have to speed read all the time. You know, when you relax and you are on the seaside and that kind of thing, you don't have to do that. But the advantage, I think, we can remember more. One other thing that you can do before you read a book, as a rule of thumb, is ask yourself 10 questions about the book, something you want to remember specifically. And I'm sure if I read this book in 5 years' time, I will remember something else.
Very interesting concept. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll probably see something else. So one of the, I'm sure I picked up more details than if I had been wondering about, because, and that shows speed reading, because he asked me to concentrate. And myself, I have noticed that I have difficulties in concentrating. So I thought, when I come across it, so I thought that's probably a very good idea. Okay. And I am pleased I started. So one of the catchphrases I remembered from the book, Flying on the Inside and Reaching New Heights, is that education, so in education, that can suggest a few things as well. Beyond that center of 3 words, we could guess that, did Frankie really bother about education at some point in his life? Yeah, what is education? Yeah. Do we really need it? Yeah. And then, but he also suggests that as his life went on, that, hang on a minute, yeah, maybe I need education after all. Yeah.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, Roger.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that could suggest a few things. So, and then one of the techniques that they say, because how can I put it? And when I learn English and I listen to a conversation, not so much now, but at the beginning, especially at the beginning, I could get the gist of what was talked about and probably understand so many words, I mean, not necessarily all the words in that discussion. But the same applies for this when you read a book. So what you do, according to Mohamed, that's the way he uses it. So you, for example, you don't look, you lack imaginary margin at the beginning of, yeah, on the left and on the right. So you don't read all the words. So you pick up 2 words, let's say. Here it says, exhilarating life, felt and exciting. So if I just look at life and exciting, that's probably enough already. Life, exciting. And then you go down just 2 words. What happens is then you read 2 keywords here. So let's say life and exciting. So life, exciting, going, change. Yeah. So then you already know by having those 4 words you read that life is actually exciting. So you don't need to read the word exhilarating. Yeah. And then, yeah, so that's going to change. So what I'm trying to say is, when we look at the word life, because we have a peripheral vision, my vision will look at the word on the left of life and more likely on the right, but you don't read those words. So your brain, according to the people who are expert in the topic, what's the word for it? Your brain will make sense of it. Have you not noticed sometimes there is on the net some or somewhere some test where they write word inside out or back to front or that kind of thing, and then you can still make sense of it, even though you're not a specialist. Yeah, I came across that a few times in my life, and then you realize I make sense of it. So by doing that, and then you get used to doing it. So
Amazing.
I remember, so that's where the catch that caught me. Education's only education. Then I know you had a lot of problems because you mixed with the wrong crowd. You had 2 tragedies in your family. Your uncle passed away at the age of 46. I don't remember, I think he collapsed, whether he was playing football.
My uncle had the brain hemorrhage, which plunged me back again into darkness in my book, yeah. So from trying to get myself out of my bad habits and situation I was in, something affected me again, which dragged me back into that situation. So I started to repeat the cycles in my life, which was causing me a lot more suffering and a lot more pain. So I couldn't see a way out of my situation, Roger, which is really quite dark. So yeah, you're right, Roger. I just thought I'd highlight that for you. Yeah.
And then also when your daughter's half-brother got killed in Manchester, that was also horrific.
Horrific, yeah, it's like a stepson to my stepson.
Yeah, that's horrific.
Me, Candice was very close to Kieran, yeah, and
that's absolutely horrendous. I mean, that's horrendous. Yeah. And then after that, you had your parents that split up, and then then that obviously that had an impact on your life, and then in the end, it made you stronger. That's what you're saying. And then after that, as you went on, then obviously you're working now as a security officer, but that's not exactly what you want to do, because you have experience in public speaking, you have experience in coaching people and that kind of thing, and mentoring young people. That's your dream, and what you want to do. Well, I remember better the first chapter than the others for some reasons, because I'm learning the speed reading, and that's probably because I was in better condition when you do the speed reading. What we need to do, but I'll definitely remember.
If you don't mind me saying, speed reading, who are the people who do speed reading? Now, you named some names, I think, before about some famous people who do speed reading. Could you mention the names to us, please, of people who do speed reading and what effect it's had on them, speed reading, and it can have on us?
Right, okay. But the effect for me on this is that I'll read the book in probably 1.5 hours altogether, which is not extremely fast, but it's still faster than I would have done otherwise. Okay. And then and what I can say before I answer your question is that it's how Frankie turned his life around, and he wants to help people in the same way, people who had issues. And also he explained about Buddhism, and then from being a Christian, he became a Buddhist, and he explains why.
There's a lot of transformation in my life, isn't there, Roger? A lot of
absolutely.
My life.
It's about transforming people, transforming your own life, and what you want to do is to transform people's life as well. So it's really a good book for that. It's really a good book. So when you got the other one out, we'll also speed reading the book, and I probably then know a bit more aspect speed reading. I need to practice every day. Yeah. And also one thing I would like to mention about speed reading, and that Mohamed actually emphasizes quite a lot, is the Pomodoro system. It's been proven that after 25 minutes, we stop focusing properly, the brain. So if we read 50 minutes and 1.5 in one go, then it's going to be difficult.
Did you
obviously some people will Pardon?
They picked up with some important points here about reading a book every 25 minutes because you will gather more information that will stay with you.
Yeah, so you have a 5 minutes break. Obviously, yeah, you can train it's not a rigid thing. You can train your mind by decide to read 15 minutes, have a couple of minutes break and start again. But the important is the break. Yeah, after 25 minutes, it's been proven, our focus tends to go down. It tends to go down. So we need breaks in between. Yeah. So this is why, and then Mohamed actually was training young people at some point, and they had a break. They had a break every 15 minutes because children cannot focus as much according to the research. And then they all said, "Oh, a break again, and then the time flew just like that. So they were very focused because they had a break, so they could recharge frequently. Okay, so that's very what's the name? That's crucial. Now, and then also what I'm going to test next time on maybe on this book, and when I've gone through the mind mapping training from the same guy, Mohamed Boclet, we could probably bind this book on one page, and it will tell you everything on one page. So
wow,
we could put
that sounds interesting.
the wise entrepreneur, then we can put childhood, and then some branches saying what difficulty you had, and then your parents, your life with the family, and then I'm sure we can have a full picture on one big page, and then you'll know the book.
Always, Roger, you talk about a full picture. You're talking like a mind map, is that right? Like a map?
Yeah, mind mapping, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been yeah, and then I know, Maria, you did use mind mapping before, yeah. Unfortunately, Mr. Shem, she's not with us anymore. Otherwise, I would have told her about having a break every 25 minutes because that's the way the brain works. Yeah.
So
and then
why mind mapping then, Roger? Because talk to people about mind mapping. Why is mind mapping?
Okay, mind mapping is make an association between an image and a word. Okay. And I was watching one of Mohamed's videos in his training, and he showed a picture to his audience of a blue bird and white, blue and white on it for a couple of seconds. And we could all say straight away what it was, a bird, this type of bird, big, small, people could gather information really quick. And he only showed that picture for a couple of seconds or maybe a bit more. I can't remember the exact time, but let's say 10 seconds. Yeah. So in 10 seconds, we could gather a lot of information. So mind mapping, why? Because we associate word with pictures. So for example, if you show a child about a house, you point to the house and then you say house, he will say house and it's going to mimic what you're saying, but it's going to see the picture. It's not going to ask you to translate it into French or Spanish or whatever in order to understand it. No, house. And then if you say it in a foreign language, maison in French, maison, then it will know that maison looks like that. Yeah. Or voiture, a car outside, car. Yeah. Then it will associate the image to the word.
Very good, very clear.
Yeah, so that's, and I am also at the beginning of that, and I am doing this French program. This program to be able to teach French online and have groups. And I am actually, it's a big challenge for me. And it's about the what's the word for it? Yeah. So I want to, personally, I would like to use mind mapping as part of the teaching of the language. So really, when you think about it, when I mentioned about your book, we can have a full picture of it on one big, page, one of these, and I'm sure we can do that. I might try that actually when I learn it with, you know what, Frankie, when I go to the video, to Mohamed's video on mind mapping, I'll use your book again about it and see, by using mind mapping, how much of your book we can remember. And I was watching a video on YouTube yesterday, and I did a search on World Championship mind mapping. And they do now the junior section and the adult section. So the junior is below 18, and above 18. So they did a speed read world championship as well as the mind mapping. It's absolutely wonderful. The work done by those people is absolutely great. So they show the top 5 mind mapping, and after that they gave the bronze medal, the silver, and the gold. Yeah, so they took the best 5, and then how can I put it? And some countries already use mind mapping in school. So that's going to give a massive advantage to the students who attend the schools.
It's amazing, isn't it, mind mapping, because it's very, very clear, isn't it, Roger, what you need to do, but it makes, it gives humans and students and children and kids.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. This guy, he has programmed with students as well in France. And those people who follow his program, yeah, are going to do fantastic. And I think it's in some of the Northern European countries.
Yes,
like
really good.
No, Norwegian people use that. I'll have to double check that, but it's interesting as opposed to traditional teaching. Yeah. And my English teacher did a little bit of that. I remember these lines he put on the wall, and then with little characters speaking to each other. Yeah, asking their name, and so I remember that. I don't remember the translation of it, but I remember that, the little character. So, and then, so he was well in advance, and then
it works.
Pardon?
And it works in mind mapping. Yeah, it's proven that it works, and it's better for the children, for our students, for our teenagers.
Oh yeah. So my aim is to actually introduce it in my French program I want to do. So this, yeah, what else can I say on that? I mean, speed reading, but what I would suggest to people out there, whether you want to be a speed reader or not, I still suggest before you read your book, you look at the back here. You may want to look at the introduction and conclusion when necessary, and the title of the chapters. Right? And then you may want to decide what you want to remember from that book. So if it is a book on self-development, for example, then you may want to remember certain things more than others, where you may want to improve something in your life. Yeah? So that will give you a guide already. Yeah.
Amazing.
And then what?
Thanks
Yeah.
for that. It seems like you've learned a lot about speed reading, and you've learned a lot about mind mapping, and I think that's really, really important. And I hope the audience and the people watching this actually picked up on some of the important tips what Roger's talk about speed reading and mind mapping. I know mind mapping has been around for years, Roger, and you can mind map virtually anything you want. You can do a
you can mind map everything you want. And then I remember I was working with a guy called Angus quite a long time ago now in this country. And then he did use mind mapping a lot. I was not too sure what it was, so he didn't quite explain at the time what it was, but I had problem following it a bit. Because one other thing as well is to use colors when you do mind mapping. And then you can, so for example, when I do mind mapping on your book, and then all your childhood, for example, will be in the specific colors, the branch I start with, yeah? Frankie childhood, for example. Then I put a school, and I put home crowd and stuff like that. And then when we come to your family, for example, then it could be another color. And then when we come to the next stage, which is about when you become an entrepreneur, for example, then I could come back to the previous color I used, because then your mind remembers better. But I will probably be able to tell you more about mind mapping when I have trained myself a bit more about it. One thing, though, I would say about colors, because I belong to Toastmasters International, and we have now a new group here in Bolton Communicator. Yeah, I think it's Bolton Communicators. We're not chartered yet, but now I do my speeches without notes. I used to use notes a lot. So that's a massive improvement. And what I've done when I started Mohamed's training, I put colors I highlighted my word in colors every so often, yeah. And I remember that well. The speech went really good because I could see the colors and the word in my mind, yeah. But then I did another speech where I did the same, but I didn't use colors, and I struggled more to remember it.
Well,
I
that's
was actually, yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, I did struggle more to remember it. So for me, the use of colors is also crucial. I'm sure it would be for most people. Okay, we all did. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that talk today, my dear friend. You've talked about speed reading, you've talked about mind mapping. Where can we find more information as we wind down, as we finish the actual meeting now, the actual video? Where can we find more information about, is it speed reading, mind mapping? What advice would you give to the audience watching this? How do we know more about speed reading, mind mapping?
Well, actually, yes. Obviously, I came across that French guy. There is quite a few French people who are definitely at the top of the game using that. There is a guy called Steve. I love his videos as well. I've been watching them. It's about speed reading. And the same topic we've been talking about, it trained the national team for the World Championship. But I'm not going to follow Mohamed and Steve and this and that because then you get confused, I think. And then speed readers use slightly different techniques from one another. So some people just use the 2 words per line, or down on that. And there is so many ways we can do another video on that if you want, Frankie, how you train yourself.
Okay, that's great, Roger.
And if you want, you asked me, sorry, I want to finish on that. Tony Buzan is Tony, Tony, and Buzan, Buzan, Buzan. If you go on that, Tony Buzan is the precursor, I think, in this country.
Yeah.
About it.
Okay, Roger. Thank you so much for that. I will put all the details, what you put down, Roger, what you talked about. I'll put it down in the description after you watch this YouTube channel. Thank you for watching this video, audience. If you like what you see, leave us some comments below. Subscribe, hit my notification bell, leave me some comments and some details below, and you'll get some notifications and feedback from my channel. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you all. I'm Frankie Kington, the Wise Entrepreneur. I'm all over YouTube and Facebook and social media, and I look forward to tuning in to you very, very soon, audience. Thank you for listening, and thank you for my dear friend Roger for being on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Roger. I appreciate you. Warmest wishes now. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.